everyone joining us today all around the world. I am Anirudh Sisla, 2019-2020 JCI APDC Counselor from JCI India. I welcome you all to JCI APDC Connects Together Future Forward event. Today we have with us 2007 JCI President Scott Greenlee from JCI USA. It's our privilege to have you here, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Counselor. It is always great to participate with and support JCI. And of course, I particularly enjoy serving with Asia Pacific, where I had the great privilege of serving as an executive vice president back in 2006. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. So to start off with, how are things at your place, and hope the situation is getting better?
Well, that's a great place to start, given how the COVID situation has dominated the world for the last several months. In the U.S., as you know, we had some challenges, particularly in our large metropolitan areas. End of March, most of April, and early May. But fortunately, we've been coming out of it very strongly. In fact, since about early to mid-May. Most of the United States is back open. Even restaurants, bars, places where people are gathering. Many states, 100%. My state had the challenge of Detroit area and had a little higher rate because of that. So we are opening, but we are at a percentage capacity. So maybe a restaurant could only be open for 50%. Maybe some of our larger venues that do sports and concerts and things like that are not open at all yet, and our governor hasn't given a timeline. But things have definitely gotten much better here in the U.S. in general, and of course in my state of Michigan, which is very fortunate. We're very glad that we're coming out of this, and of course now the only challenge is going to be the aftermath, how we deal with other pandemics. Because this pandemic was managed in a way that no pandemic has ever been managed around the world. You think about the fact that we've had pandemics as long as the world's been around, but we've never really shut the world down, for one. So we found, along with that, other challenges came. There was isolation, there was an increase in suicide rates, there was an increase in violence rates among families, domestic violence. There were a lot of challenges with alcohol and substance abuse, people struggling with what to do. And then there's the economic challenges that are going to continue much longer, I think, than the virus continued, at least from a peak standpoint. And people who've lost their businesses and people who are going to have a business downturn because others don't want to go outside and aren't really comfortable with if the virus is under control. Some people will want to wait for a vaccine to start re-engaging in society. So it's not just a short-term economic impact whereby, August, September, everything's going to be back to normal. We will indeed have a new normal, and that will continue to pose challenges. So I think the U.S. and I think the world are entering into that secondary phase of drama and challenge that has been created and will be created by this pandemic.
Yes, that's right, Mr. President, because we are all in this together, and I hope around the world, all our friends are facing the same problems, and we will get used to the new normal life very soon, and hope the situation gets much better in the future.
Yeah, amen. That's for sure.
So, Mr. President, can you let our viewers know how and when did you join in JCI?
It's one of my favorite stories. I'm getting a little old now. I'm 52, but I've been in JCI for over half my life. So way back in 1991, when I was 23 years old, 24 probably by the end of the year, I was joining JCI, and really they had been asking me to join for almost a year. But I didn't want to join because JCI, to me, at that time, as a young person, sounded like it was too serious of an organization. They're saying, trainings and leadership and, going to all these seminars and always wearing the suits and things like that. And as a young guy, I just was not that interested in that, believe it or not. So I had no real passion to join JCI, but they kept asking me to join. They kept saying, Scott, you need to do this. Scott, you'll enjoy it. Scott, you'll be a better leader. You know, you'll meet people, et cetera, et cetera. So I finally gave in and said, okay, I'll try JCI. And that was with my local chapter in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I got into the meetings and things, and I really was amazed at the number of people I met and at all the different programs that we did. And this was just locally. So I joined. I got pretty excited about the organization. You know, the serious stuff was the board and all these projects and the planning. But sure enough, within my first year, I was chairing a project. And I think it was about 4 years after that, I wound up as a vice president of my chapter, and then was elected chapter president the following year, and kind of went on in JCI from there. So it was really an unexpected pleasure and an unexpected privilege to join the organization. And thank goodness I did, because it's probably the best decision I've ever made in all my decisions in life, was getting involved in JCI. And I'm so glad that they didn't give up, that they kept saying, no, you should join. No, you should come to something. You know, they really pushed me hard to join, or I probably never would have.
Yes, that's right, Mr. President. As they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So I think your leadership journey started with JCI way back then.
Yeah, it did. And it was great, because every step of the way in JCI, I thought that was the final step. So I was chapter president. I really enjoyed being chapter president, maybe still my favorite year in all of JCI, which is difficult to say having served as world president. But it was really great to see the impact at the local level, where things really happen. And you can really see, like, for years to come, what you started when you were in a role, in a leadership position. So I was done being chapter president. I was young. I was 30 or so. And people were saying, hey, you know, maybe you should do something else in JCI. Maybe you should do leadership at the state level, because in Michigan, we have states similar to zones that you have in India. And so I was interested in it, but I didn't really, it wasn't like a goal. So they asked me to go on the state board, find out about the state level. And I did that. And a couple years after I first joined the state board, I was elected the state president for a year, and that was 2001. And then I thought to myself, okay, that's it. You know, that was a great experience to be a state president. 5,000 members all over the state of Michigan, over 100 local chapters, LAMs. And they said, but we need good JCI USA vice presidents, and typically the state presidents, they have an opportunity to go and do that. You know, is that of interest to you? And again, I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I can handle it. I don't know. It's a lot of travel. I'm busy with my career, with working, but sure, I'll try it. So I did that. And then that was 2002. I was a JCI USA vice president. And then they said, you know, you should really expand and learn international and see how other people do it around the world, get best practices, make obviously even bigger network, bigger friends. And I wrestled with that, because at the time I was a typical American. I had been to Canada and I'd been to Mexico. I hadn't really done any international travel. I hadn't been to even JCI World Congress. I had gone to all the JCI USA meetings, but had stopped there. But I said, okay, maybe I'll take a shot. And a lot of people, again, encouraged me. I've always been fortunate that people were mentoring me and asking me to take on more roles and more responsibilities. So I ran in the Las Vegas World Congress in 2002. I was elected a vice president assigned to Europe. Had a wonderful year working with Europe. I had the Nordic countries, Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Iceland. So it was kind of that northern part of Europe, and then the 3 Baltic countries. And that was wonderful, and that really opened my eyes to the world, and I got very passionate about service to the world and really all that you could learn. And then in addition to that, of course, I started attending World Congress every year. I started attending Conference of the Americas, where I'm from, as well as the European Conference. I was assigned there. Made my way to an ASPEC and was blown away with how many people were there. So I said, yeah, I'd like to do more, I think. I mean, this international stuff really was the first step I had taken in JCI that ignited a real passion and a real flame in me. So I said, yeah, if there's ever an opportunity to serve at JCI level, I would do it. I was very fortunate in 2005 that the JCI president that year from Ireland, Kevin Cullinan, asked me to be general legal counsel. And I was excited to accept that opportunity, and had a great year of learning from him. He was a great mentor. He is a great friend to this day. And then in 2006, I ran for and was elected an executive vice president. And again, very close friend, very good mentor to this day, Lars Haaglund, the 2006 president from Denmark, who I got to know well when I was assigned to Europe. He was the world president, and he said, are you ready for the Asia Pacific? And I said, I don't know if I am, but I'll try hard. So I was excited about that assignment. I was a little nervous about that excitement. I mean, half of the world's membership from one area, and just the steep tradition of the Asia Pacific area was a lot to accept and handle and work with. And of course, then the chance to chair a conference in Takamatsu, Japan in 2006 with over 10,000 delegates and all the planning that went into that. Obviously, JCI Japan did a great job, JCI Takamatsu, the COC, and I just learned so much during that experience and developed other close friends and other close mentors who said, you really ought to take a look at running for JCI president. And I thought to myself, boy, at the age of 23, when they were trying to get me to join JCI, and I was saying, no, it's too serious. No, I thought that would be a pretty interesting story. So I was excited about the opportunity to keep learning and to serve the organization, to motivate people. So I said, okay, I'll run for president. And I was fortunate to be elected and served in 2007, chaired the World Congress in Antalya, Turkey. Wonderful country and a wonderful conference and Congress there. And then I've tried to continue to stay active and be involved, because JCI really is built me into the leader that I am today. I often tell people when I joined JCI, I did not have a good job. I certainly wasn't a business owner. I certainly didn't have a network of people around the world. To this day, I still have no university degree. So I graduated from high school, but I never had anything after that. So I'm kind of a product of JCI. JCI taught me how to different leadership type skills you could apply to business. And it's because of that I am a business owner today. And it's because of that I do have this network of people around the world that I can go to for mentorship, for friendship, for support. And really all of the observations I've learned from sitting back and watching people, both my peers, folks like Kevin and Lars that I mentioned, of course, JCI members who had gone before me, presidents that were, decades earlier, advisors, close friends like Chairman Sunny Yu from Hong Kong, my good friend, and others that really have taught me so much. I laugh that I don't have any college formal degree, but I have degree in life from JCI. And I'm so glad I joined. So 2008, I was IPP. I was chairman of the Senate and, of course, chairman of the Strategic Planning Commission that year. And then I've tried to stay active and engaged and always at World Congress as much as I can with my job, and always at ASPEC and other conferences. Attended the Conference of Americas a couple of years ago. It was great to see everybody. And it's also nice now to have this Zoom stuff going on where I can still participate, even though I'm about 8,000 miles away from where you are. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes, that's true, Mr. President. It's really exciting to learn about your transformational leadership journey with JCI and how you first denied to be a member of JCI, but eventually you end up being the 2007 JCI president, and you have been keeping up active all around the world. That's where we keep meeting often right now with Zoom. So, and also like you said, JCI is a great platform for networking, and your story definitely, gives a bonus to this, statement. JCI is a really great platform for networking to improve our skills, to improve. So, Mr. President, can you walk us through what kind of impact can JCI members create around the world post-COVID period?
Well, I think it's important to talk about kind of the foundation of how JCI was started to figure out where we need to go next. And, we're a very unique organization in the fact that our organization was started to make people and the individual members better. So a lot of times groups have, NGOs around the world have a cause. Maybe they're working to cure a disease. Maybe they're working to eradicate something. Maybe they're working for some other cause or some long-term development somewhere. With JCI, it was just as simple as we want to take young people and make them better leaders. We want to give them real-life experience now when they're young, so that when they turn 40, they can leave the organization. That way the organization doesn't become stagnant. You don't have the same president and the same ideas all the time. It allows it to stay fresh and to change with the times. But also those people then are free to go and join other groups, whether they join other NGOs, whether they join community groups or excel in politics or are active in their business or take the lessons that they've got and apply them to their family, doing it better because of JCI. So the organization is about the individual member. But I tell folks really there are 5 things that you get out of JCI. You have the opportunity to do if you participate and if you get active as a member. And that's an important, set aside that you have to be active. You must be present to win is a great phrase. You need to be active, because if you just join JCI and you're sitting at home and you're not out participating, then you're not going to get these things. But the 5 things JCI gives any individual a chance to do around the world is first, the leadership. Become a stronger, better leader because of JCI. I've had an opportunity to do speeches in front of 20,000 people because of JCI. I've had the opportunity to lead a global organization which worked on my management skills, which certainly helped me from a budget management standpoint and learning about expenses and making tough decisions. I had to appoint people to various roles, and that's difficult because in JCI, like businesses, there's a lot of qualified people, and who do you pick and how do you pick and who do you get advice from? Certainly all of those type of leadership experiences, you can't really learn in a book. Like you can go to college and that's good. And I encourage everybody who are formal education, your training, you're thrown into real life, and real life is different. So JCI gives you that real life and that leadership. The second thing I tell people was I knew that there were people out there who had it tougher. My parents taught me that, hey, if it's bad for us, it's worse for someone else. So we should try and give back. We should try and make their life better. And in JCI, we do that. We do community service. Now, we do our projects to help the community with the idea that our members, again, get leadership experience while doing it. And again, that's what sets us aside. That's what makes us a little different as an organization, is that we're all about the member, but the members have to get those skills anyway. So why not make our community better? It's a win-win. The third thing I tell people about JCI is you will make business contacts and professional contacts around the world, and even in your own city, that you never knew until you joined JCI and until you come to that first meeting. When I went to my first meeting in Grand Rapids, I walked in and I was like, wow, this person works at this company, that person works at that company, this person works here. It's like, there were people that I could sell my product to. There were people that I could ask to give me a better job. Oh, you've got an opening at your company. Could I talk to you? There were people making suggestions about connecting with this person or that person. And on the other side of it, even to this day, my insurance agent is the guy that I met at one of my first JCI meetings. So almost 30 years of business I've done with him. I have a lawyer who's a JCI member. I have a dentist who's a JCI member. I buy my cars from a JCI person. I buy my house, my realtor from a JCI member. the title insurance for my house, also through a JCI member. So really, it's not just me selling a product or me getting a job or finding a client, but it's the comfort level of me doing business with people I share common values with through JCI. So that's kind of cool. So it's business both ways. The fourth thing I tell people is friendships. So you make friends and you meet people that are lifelong. Some of your best friends, even if they are, thousands of kilometers away from you. And in JCI, you only need to look at folks like I was mentioning, with Lars Hausland, the 2006 president. Certainly my brother from the Asia Pacific area, Jin Sup Shin from Korea, the 2009 president. The three of us, Lars and Suppi and I, are very close, and we communicate all the time. And we fly to each other's parts of the world to see each other and to have fun. And it's scary to think that if I hadn't made the decision at 23 to join this group, I never would have met them. So, and it's not just them, it's being able to have hundreds and thousands of people around the world that if I wind up in whatever country, I can reach out to and have a friend. So that's a real blessing. And then the fifth thing I tell people about JCI is it's fun, right? Like it's a good time. Like we work hard, but we also play hard. So it's a lot of fun. So as we think about JCI in the post-COVID, the new normal that we're going to enter into, and a lot of this is speculation because we don't know. We haven't been through this. Again, for some reason, the world thought to completely close down during this pandemic, even though we've never done that before. So now we're coming out of it, and we need to find ways to kind of merge the old style of life with what we're doing now with the shutdown and emerging from it. So one of the things is exactly what we're doing right now. It's technology. For all these years, I've used Zoom, I've used GoToMeeting, I've used Skype, I've used probably every one of these because of my business. I have a company in Asia that I am a partner in Manila, the Philippines. So we're doing a lot of business back and forth that way. But we never thought about being guest speaker at a JCI meeting 5,000 kilometers away until this is happening, and how it can be effective and how you can actually get resources in with no problem. Because, old time thinking, I'd have to get on a plane, I'd have to buy a plane ticket, I'd have to fly, get my hotel, prepare, do the presentation, and then do all that in reverse. So the very least case scenario, it would be a 3 or 4 day adventure, and it would cost a couple $3,000 when you have the plane and the hotel and the meals and all that. Well, now we realize that you can just reach out to somebody, and if their schedule allows, you can participate this way. So I think, like, for local chapter meetings, having Zoom set up is a good idea, because maybe a local chapter has 60 members, and maybe at any one given meeting 30 of them can attend, and the other 30 are out of town on business or are sick or have another responsibility during that time. So not everybody attends every meeting. But if we have Zoom set up in the back of the room, if I'm traveling for business, I can still log on and I can still watch what's happening, and I can hit my hand raise and I can have input and participate in the meeting, even if I'm not physically there. If I'm at home and I'm sick, or I'm working with a sick member of my family, I can flip it on and keep an eye on it while taking care of matters at home. So really, the fact that we are doing a lot of things with this technology is a great blessing, even for people like myself who were fairly technologically savvy and kind of had technology down. We're getting our eyes open. And when you think about leveraging technology, you think about a lot of things. Okay, we talked about saving money, right? Like the fact that you're not driving in your car or you're not flying to wherever. That also has an effect on the environment, which is very important to a lot of people. If we're not like burning fossil fuels and what have you in the regular travel. It obviously has a time component. Like after our session today, I've got meetings. Since we're recording this in the USA in the morning, I've got meetings all day. None of those could have happened if I was over in India or in the Asia Pacific area, and we were doing this in person. So it allows you to be more efficient and therefore accomplish more things. We can have in my own state of Michigan, I have clients all over the state. And when I'm driving to meetings, it might take me an hour to get to a meeting, and then I have the meeting for maybe an hour and a half, and then I'm grabbing a quick meal, and then I'm driving an hour back. So, you know, an hour and a half meeting turns into about a 4-hour block of time that I have to block out. If I do that same meeting by Zoom or by some kind of technology, I've just saved 3 hours of time that I can put into something else, whether that's my business, my family, NGOs, whatever it is. Maybe I can go play golf. I like to play golf, you know. So maybe it's an extra 3 hours I can go play 9 holes of golf. So the bottom line is this will force us to be more technologically engaged and more technologically savvy. And that's got to be part of the new norm and how JCI accomplishes its mission. I think importantly, though, we can't lose the interpersonal part of JCI. I think that we need to, as quickly as people are comfortable, come back to doing things as closely to the old way as possible, because as technology is a blessing, it can also be a curse. And there is real value to being with groups of people. First of all, your time is usually spent a little longer. Second of all, there's always an opportunity for interaction, for questions, for follow-ups. A lot of times we will do a JCI meeting or event or what have you, and then we'll go out afterwards and have social time and bond as friends. And, you know, while we can have a video happy hour, it's just different in person. So I do think that it's going to be important that we re-engage in society as quickly and as safely as possible, so that we can get back to doing things together. We can get back to being in the same room and what have you. I think that JCI needs to lead the way with doing precautions. So I've seen in different parts of the world in JCI, chapters and national organizations doing things like hand washing campaigns and things along these lines for years. I think now maybe we need to put out as a best practice that hey, this is important. Like, we need to be more aware of our health. I've always tried to, you know, the hand washing, I've always tried to keep a little of the cleaner so that I can wash my hands. And I've always tried to remember to just do that 3 or 4 times a day when you're walking past a place that's got a hand washing station. But now I'm doing it even more. And that's good. And you can't probably do it enough, right? Because every time you do it, you're cleansing and you're making things safer. How are we going to handle handshakes? How are we going to handle hugs? How are we going to handle things like that? You know, JCI, with its membership age as young people, can really set a trend for how that will go globally. It's a wonderful thing about JCI, because if you get somebody at 18, 20, 22, 24 doing a best practice, they're going to do it for life, which might, you take that 70, 80, or 90-year-old and teach them a best practice, they will do it for life, but let's face it, their life will not be as long. They won't have as many years left on this earth during that time to impact others and to teach that best practice. It's another thing that's just so great about JCI is we our leadership factory, we take them when they're young, we develop them, and then they go on and they impact, you know, countless number of people through their attitudes and through their best practices. So I think it's important that we look at cleansing and really setting good examples as we go forward as young leaders, and try and bring those to society. I think it's important that we take a look at what our communities need now. And by now, I mean right now. We talked earlier about some of the challenges that are going to happen post-COVID as we open up. Economic challenges in particular. I think that there is going to be a real void in many business communities. I know people in my town who are done with their business. Like, they couldn't sustain the fact that they've had no clients for 3 months, and that they're probably not going to have a normal capacity that they built their business on for many more months. So unfortunately, they've shut down, and that causes huge problems with youth unemployment and really with all unemployment. You know, it's not just the business owner that has shut his or her business down and is now saying, I need to find a job, but it's all the people that relied on them for their job, you know, and one business closes, it's 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 people that are now out of work. And that's a real challenge. And JCI, of course, has talked about the challenges of youth unemployment for years. I think that we've really got to focus on that. We've got to focus on it at a local level. I talked about the fact, again, early on, that JCI local president might have been my favorite year in all of JCI, as crazy as that is sounds. And the reason is, it's really where the rubber hits the road. You know, internationally, we can teach best practices and we can give examples and we can try and motivate members and what have you. But it's at the local level where that stuff really happens. You know, were we able to inspire the young leader to actually take action? And if so, they take action in their local community. And every local community is different, and every local community has different challenges and things that need to be addressed. So I really think at the local chapter level right now, it's a critical point in JCI. It's a point where there is a lot to be done, which will give our members a lot of leadership experience in taking the lead and helping to get society back to whatever the new normal is going to be as quickly as possible. But also, it might be a great time to get people involved in JCI. It might be a great time to increase your chapter size, because let's face it, if somebody is unemployed, if somebody is at a situation where they're not working as much, or they've got other time that has been made available to them, or they've found ways to be more efficient by using technology during this global pandemic, then they've got some extra time. If they've got some extra time, what better way to use it than JCI, than joining with other young active citizens to band together and make the world and make their community a better place. So I really think it is a time for JCI to shine as much as possible, even if we've got to do it with a little bit of different attitude, a little bit of distance, a little bit of technology and things like that. Now is a great time to recruit and to get new members involved and to engage community volunteers, I think.
Yes, that was exciting to know from you, Mr. President. You just mentioned about, you know, this organization is all about learning by doing, and also just keep exploring all the different opportunities that throw us at us, so that we can go exploring and learning and, you know, redoing and giving it back to the community. So, Mr. President, here just now you just mentioned that, you know, whoever is unemployed, it could be a great organization to develop their skills when they are a bit free. And also, you just mentioned that right now with the COVID period, most of the people are having time because, you know, we're investing mostly on the virtual things, but meeting here and there instead of travel. So how do you think that it could be a strategy for the local organizations to recruit members in this period?
So again, I think every community and every local organization is different. So there's no cookie cutter approach that will work for everybody. But I think any good organization is going to regularly interact with their members and find out what they want to do. So the most important stuff is local, because again, if all the local chapters are strong around the world, all 5,000 of them, then every national organization is going to be strong. And if every national organization is going to be strong, JCI itself is going to be strong. So we're not a top-down leadership organization. We're actually a bottom-up leadership organization where it's the local chapter's success that determines the entire course of our 150,000 members, you know, around the globe in 5,000 cities and 125 countries. It's every local community and the combined actions they choose to take. So I think meeting with local officials, I think local officials could mean political leaders, business leaders, religious leaders, any type of leader that's in the community, and really identifying their need. Because one of the things I've learned in going out and meeting with mayors and meeting with CEOs and folks is I may have a perception of what they need or what they're looking for, but when I get there, they might tell me something completely different. So it's important to ask with an open mind, what do you need? Where could the JCI organization in this area play a vital role in assisting? whatever that looks like, whatever that means. And it's going to look different in India than it might look in Korea, than it might look in South Africa, than it might look in Paraguay, than it might look in Canada, than it might look in Norway. So it'll look different around the world. And even within those countries, it will look a little different depending on if you are from a big city or you're from a small rural city. If your chapter has 15 members, or if they have 150 members, there's going to be different things that you can do and that you have access to. So I think the most important thing is listening. You know, they always say that you have one mouth but two ears, so you should listen twice as much. And I think that's very true. And I think that in this time especially, to go to our members and say, what are you comfortable with? What do you notice that needs to be done around the community? How do you think we re-engage our JCI organization as quickly as possible, but in a safe and comfortable manner? And then you go to the community leaders and say the same thing. And you listen and you find the answers that both groups are saying. You know, if both groups are saying, we don't think it's safe in our city or in our part of the world to do things in person until September, okay, well then we know. Then we know if we try and do something in July, our participation level is probably going to be low because we have, you know, members and we have people in the community that are saying it's probably not safe yet. Then again, if they're saying, you know, it's a lot better now, it's probably safe to go out. We recognize that, you know, on this pandemic in particular, the vast majority of people impacted are either elderly or have a pre-existing condition. So it's probably okay to move on now. Then, you know, it's okay to move on now, and people are within their comfort level. Fear is a great seller. You know, when we think about all the emotions that we have, fear is one that motivates us the most. It motivates us more than comfort. It motivates us as much as or more than love in many situations. You know, the desire to succeed. Fear kind of can trump all that, because when we're afraid of something, we don't know what the future will hold, and we don't know if we're going to lose all those other emotions because of something that could happen, like we could die or we could have a great accident or something along those lines. So people are cautious and people are fearful, and that's a normal emotional behavior. Take everybody's, you know, feel for how they're at and where they're at, and then start to come back. And if you can do that with the public sooner than later, I think that's important, because again, I really think the interpersonal, the being together part of JCI and part of any NGO is critical. So all that should be determined at the local level and flow up to the national organizations. And hopefully it's sooner than later. I think most people that are active in organizations are active in multiple organizations. I know I'm probably in about 8 organizations. I'm a joiner. You know, I've turned away from that 23-year-old Scott Greenlee who said, I don't want to be part of something, into something's going on, I want to join, I want to help. So I'm a joiner. So I'm in another NGO, and we just decided that we're going back to in-person weekly meetings July 6th. So 3 weeks from yesterday. And everybody's comfortable with it, but we're also going to set up Zoom in our room, because we have a couple of people that are a lot older in this group that I'm a member of. And one of them flat out has said, you know, I've got some lung issues. I think it's better that I stay home. And we want to be inclusive and include that member and their ideas. So we talked about how to do it. And that's how we came up with the fact that we'll meet in person, because most of us are comfortable with that. But we'll also have the Zoom set up in the room so that member and a couple others can be comfortable. I think it's really important to decide all this at the local level and to make every provision possible to remove fear and to keep things in perspective. And you know, perspective is an important word as well. When we talk to people about overcoming fear, being engaged, we need to be fearful of things that we should be fearful of, and that varies with every human being. But when we look at this terrible pandemic we've been through, and I'm not trying to downplay it in any way, shape, or form, this world has lived through pandemics that have killed 50 million people. This time, we're at about 430,000 people that have lost their lives due to COVID-19. That's awful. You know, every life matters. So, it's terrible. But then we need to step back and take a closer look and say, well, that's 432,000 out of 7.5 billion people around the world. And how many of those people actually passed away from COVID or passed away and had COVID? And there is a huge difference there, because in the United States, there was actually a financial incentive for hospitals to diagnose that people had passed away from COVID. They could qualify for some special grants because it was a pandemic and what have you. So we actually found hospitals that if and I don't want to give this example and say this was normal, but let's say, God forbid, I have a heart attack right now, and they take me into the hospital and they're like, okay, he had a heart attack and we're going to do an autopsy, and we found he had COVID too. So COVID didn't contribute to the death, and I haven't had any symptoms, and people would go around and say, hey, you had a meeting with Scott. Hey, you talked to Scott. Was he coughing? Was he run down? And everybody would say, no, he didn't. He was fine. Probably it wasn't a COVID death if that's the case. But we know for a fact in the United States, at least, some deaths were counted that way. And that inflated fear, whether it was intentional or unintentional, and that made people even more concerned. So I think as we emerge at the local level and we get back into whatever our new normal is going to be, we also need to try and get to the facts and look at them and be responsible. And if people aren't comfortable, respect that and still find ways to include them. But we need to get back as soon as it's safely possible.
Yes. So, Mr. President, we would like to have a suggestion. What kind of suggestion can you give to our national organizations under APDC to consider for retaining their membership?
So membership retention and retaining members is something that sometimes is a little bit downplayed. It seems like we're always encouraging members to go out and recruit more members, but we're not necessarily taking care of the members that are currently here. And a lot of it has to do with communication and staying in touch and talking to them and finding out why they joined. Are they getting out of their membership what they thought they were going to? And if not, what steps can we take to make JCI a great experience for them? I think that surveying members and really surveying them, not just saying, are you having fun in JCI? Well, sure. Okay, great. And checking a box. Don't do that. That's very basic. Instead, go to them and say, hey, do some one-on-one meetings. Maybe the board of directors has a lengthy written survey, or maybe they do interviews with members once a year. And they say, hey, how are you? Are you enjoying JCI? Are you involved in the things you thought you were going to be? What new idea do you have that JCI could do that would excite you and that you see a need in our area that it would fill? And really having a good constant level of communication. I think running diverse programs is important. I think leaders need to remember that their ideas are good, but they're no better than the brand new member who has just joined, so they may have an idea that is more valuable or more important. I always laugh that, new members are the best source of our greatest ideas, because I've been in JCI now, counting my alumni years when I turned 40, for almost 30 years. And everyone has heard my ideas. And some of them are okay, and some of them have been terrible over the years. And but if I have a new person join today, if I have a 25-year-old person join a JCI chapter, guess what? We've never heard their ideas. We don't know, and especially someone at my age, I don't know if that makes sense for the 25-year-old of today. Maybe it made sense for a 25-year-old me, and maybe it didn't. But today we're in a very different situation. So I think we really have to have good communication and understand what our members are looking for and hear it from them, and then run diverse programming to make sure that we're not just only doing sport type activities, or we're not just only doing leadership seminars, or we're not just only doing parties. We need to have a nice blend, because people will join JCI for a variety of reasons. And as long as one or two of those things are being fulfilled and they're getting engaged, they'll meet people, and people buy from people, people trust people, people, if you and I are friends and you're doing an activity and I haven't done that activity, or maybe I'm not super excited about the activity, I still might try it because of my respect for and my friendship with you. And that's important. So if we have a diverse group of circumstances and different things that are happening, and we're listening to our members and finding out what they want to do, usually they'll stay, and it's our hope, it's my hope, every person at the age of 18 joins JCI on their 18th birthday, and they stay active the entire time until they're 40, and then they're active as an alumni member. But to do that, we need to make sure they're getting what they want. We need to make sure that their time is being used properly and that they're getting value for not just their dues money, but value for the time that they're putting into it. Because really the time is probably more important than the dues money. I know there are some people around the world who the dues money would be, a challenge or what have you, and getting in. But usually what I find is it's more a situation of, if I'm going to be an officer in my local chapter, I'm going to need to do 10 hours a week of JCI work. And that's 10 hours that I can't do in my business, 10 hours I'm not spending with my family, 10 hours I'm not spending doing recreation or watching TV or whatever. So they have to get a value for that. So we have to make sure by talking to them and finding out what they want that we're delivering on that value.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have another situation right now, as most of the countries are facing with economic crisis due to COVID. So do you think our organization, maybe at the local level, should concentrate on economic development projects? If so, yes. What kind of projects can we concentrate on?
Yes, and yes. 100% yes. I think that, we've talked about youth economics, youth employment challenges, and things like that as an organization for a long time now. And now they will be highlighted, now they will be spotlighted, because we have just shut the world down for 3 months. And earlier in this talk, we've discussed, businesses having challenges of coming back or not coming back at all, or models of how we do business changing, and all the problems that will occur. I think that if, again, it's a local situation where we need to encourage our members to, first of all, be comfortable with their businesses and what they're doing, and try and lead by example, if at all possible. Some of our members have probably lost businesses in this situation. So I think that if I'm a business owner and I need to hire somebody, and I know of a JCI person that's lost their employment or their company, they're going to be at the top of the people I interview and try and find out if they'd be a good fit for anything I have. So I think JCI needs to watch after JCI first. And, if you've got a company and you've got openings, see if members are available and if they need it. Then I think it's more of a situation where JCI needs to lead the way, again, at the local level, because if the local is successful, the national will be successful, the international will be successful. So at the local level, they need to work with local chambers of commerce and other business type organizations to assess the need. There may be places around the world where the economics aren't too bad, and there may be places around the world where it's devastating, and all levels in between. So I think that taking a good assessment for a local chapter of where their community is economically, and then partnering with business development organizations, chambers, other companies to come up with feasible solutions that will impact their community is the first step. And then finding those best practices and sharing them through JCI. I mean, you come from a huge country. I come from a huge country. Geographically, we're very diverse. We've got areas that are very wealthy. We've got areas that are very rural and very poor. So it would be great for JCI to pull together, whether it's by Zoom or whether it's in person, and have an economic summit, and get representatives of JCI India, for example, in your case, and bring them together and say, hey, this is what's going on in my community. This is what's going on in my neighborhood. This is a best practice we learned that has resulted in 35 new jobs, coming into the area. And then somebody else can take that and run with it in their community. And by the same token, they can say, we tried this and it didn't work real well, because there's no shame in that. Trying something new and having it not work out is maybe the best teacher, because then you can share, hey, we tried this, didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to. And then either another group knows not to do it, or another group knows to do it differently and not make the same mistake or the same assessment that was made. So sharing all those good and bad practices is important. And I think with our organization being so uniquely situated in so many parts of these different countries with so many different experiences and such a diverse membership, we could be a leading organization at the local and then at the national level to come up with new ideas and solve some of these terrible challenges that are going on. Because again, my concern is, we're a year from now and the virus is under containment and maybe there's a vaccine and, what have you, but that doesn't replace the jobs that were lost. That doesn't replace the fear that may be there about how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to take care of my family? And those types of challenges can lead to dark thoughts for individuals. They can certainly lead to depression and angst and concern, and they can also remove services that other people are taking advantage of in a various communities. So I think the economic stuff is really important, and I think it's a natural thing for JCI to try and take a lead at.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, for your response. And finally, if we are approaching for partners in local community for the local organization to do a community development project, how do you think we have to approach at this COVID, post-COVID period, so that they can be a successful partnership?
Well, I think there's a couple things here, and that's a great question. First of all, remembering the word partnership and what it really means is important. A lot of times people will enter into a partnership and they will be focused on their side of the partnership. So if we do this, what do I get out of it? How can I be better? How can I better myself or attain my goals or what have you? And you have to remember the other partner, the other side of the partnership, they have the same thoughts, okay? So when I approach a partnership, I try and do it in a manner where I'm only there to help the other side. And that may sound a little strange, but hear me out. If I go to a partner and I say, hey, I've noticed, that you're into this business or you're into this cause or whatever, how can I help you? Versus if I go to them and say, hey, I'm into this business, I'm into this cause, can you help me? It's received a lot differently, right? Can I help you? Can I help? What are your goals? Because I have a little experience in this arena. So maybe if I understand your goals, I could offer you some suggestions. I could connect you with some people. I could provide you with some resources, whether it's financial or otherwise. And then they're thinking, wow, that's fantastic. This individual's helping me. I should try and reciprocate. I should try and help back. So in partnerships, I always try and start out the partnership by really providing a lot. And it's nice if you can do that all the way through the partnership. And that's a personal relationship. It's a business. It's an NGO, et cetera. Try and take care of the other people and their values and goals. And don't lose sight of it just because you're seeing a bright future or a bright opportunity for yourself or your organization. I think in this day and age of COVID, with money being a challenge, one of the most valuable things that we can do as young active citizens, as people that are able-bodied, that are for the most part young and in shape, is we can provide manpower. We can provide rolling up our sleeves and physically doing things to make a difference. Because, when you look at a rural community, maybe there's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done after a storm. Well, there's two ways you can address that. You can write a check and hire somebody to come in and do it, or you can do it yourself, right? And I think in this day and age with younger people, with the economic challenges that are out there, probably the money is a little short. So I think that the value could be in people doing things, going to organizations, whether it's a city or a county or a business that oversees some public areas, and saying, hey, at JCI, we've got young members, our members in their 20s and 30s, so we don't have a whole lot of money. But what we have is a lot of energy and we have a desire to see this place be better. So is there a volunteer thing we can do as a team, which of course also provides a lot of the other JCI goals, because you're doing things with friends, you're meeting people, you have a social component afterwards. Okay, can we roll our sleeves up and can we, clean this area for you, or can we help rebuild this, or what have you? There have been some other challenges in the U.S. you probably have read about recently with some riots and things like that. And it was interesting for me the day after that happened in my city to go downtown at 8 in the morning with a broom and some gloves and a bucket and join with other citizens and just like put in the manpower, put in the labor of cleaning up and beautifying and trying to get things back to normal in that regard. And I think this pandemic and the economic challenges, that's going to be paramount. So I think you find local causes that need help, you find partners that need help, and you find ways to help them. And most of the time, if you're kind, if you're doing it with an open mind and an open heart, and you're really looking to better their situation, they will appreciate it, and they will say, hey, in turn, how do we help you? And then that opens the door to, well, as we mentioned, we're a bunch of 20-year-old people. We don't have a ton of money. There are scholarships that we need so that our members can attend a national meeting or an international meeting so they can be trained and become better leaders. Or, boy, you've got a big organization, you've got a lot of people, any of them that are under 40, we'd welcome into JCI so that we'd be a larger organization. We could do more big community projects like this. So there's a lot of ways that people can partner together, and leading off, taking care of their concerns, their needs, their goals, and then bringing it back around to how they can help JCI is I think, a really good way to do it.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your response. I think we have now come to an end for the interview. I thank all our viewers, and I firstly thank our 2007 JCI President, Scott Greenlee from JCI USA, for taking our time early in the morning in USA, and to spare us time to help us to navigate through the tough times. And I hope that our viewers will definitely take these lessons and definitely implement these strategies to create more and more impact. So ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to our 2007 JCI President, Scott Greenlee, joining from JCI USA. Thank you so much, Mr. President, for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a real privilege.
Dear members, please keep streaming to jciapdc.com and do follow our Facebook page, JCI APDC, for more and more exciting content. Thank you so much.